Aloha Friday, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight as we start another episode on leadership. We're going to have a great topic tonight. I was just sharing with Rashmi. First of all, thank you for being with us tonight and sharing this wonderful topic about leadership and transcendency or transcendence, right? It's something that I have not covered on the shows, and I'm so excited to be doing that tonight. But tonight, thank you, Rashmi, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share. Uh, you know, you have one of these person who always motivated me to keep me informed and research on the leadership, especially in the different scenario we are living in,
Right.
still defining the new normal for all of us. So how the leadership will look like in future, that's a very interesting journey to looking forward for. So
Yes, and I agree. This current state that we're in is going to pose a lot of different things for us as leaders and challenges. I'm sure
mhm,
that there's going to be some areas that folks are not ready for, but I hope that they're taking the time as we have kind of like slow period to get that information in before they have to go execute it at the workforce level. But I'm so interested in this transcendence thing. Now, I'll tell you, folks, if you're joining us tonight, just be kind. Just throw some comments in there. Let us know you are with us tonight, where you're with us from. That'd be great. But tonight we're going to be discussing something that is so key to leadership. There is a time and a place in a leader's journey
mhm,
where you bump up against a ceiling. There's just so much learning that you can do, and there's so much development that you can do. And we usually refer that to a ceiling, right? There's
mhm,
this ceiling that you get to after you develop to a certain point, and it's an area of great questions for the leader. Internally, you start to question whether you're in the right place. You start to question whether you're doing it right. You start to question how effective you are as a leader at that point. That area, that ceiling, is very peculiar in our growth, and we have answers to those questions that we come up with, right? Because sometimes you can decide to say, I
mhm,
think I've got my limit. I don't really want to go any further. And so let me
mhm,
just step back a little and enjoy this time. Or
mhm,
you can decide, you know what? I'm happy here. I'm not going to press forward. I'm not going to move back. I'm just going to stay right where I'm at. And then there's
mhm,
some leaders uh similar to you and I that we get to that ceiling and we start with the foot, right? We start to break it in. We start to bash that ceiling, and then we find ourselves in this area that we've just went from one side to the other. So I want you to talk to me a little bit about this area, and then what happens after, because we're going to be talking about transcendence here throughout the night.
of course. And as you correctly said, that it's totally depending on the leaders where they want to go. And 2020 and year 2021 has been a year of transformation. But the transformation for me, as a by definition, is converting one state into another.
Mm.
So the transformational leadership, which we say that's the core and the crux of right now the corporate America, I still feel that it's kind of a limiting. And
Mm.
as you said, that when you hit the ceiling, what are you going to do? What are the decisions? Whatever the decision you are making, is it serving you? It's completely on you whether you want to lead or not lead, because leadership is a choice.
Mm.
Leadership is a choice. No, you can become you can hold any title, but still you can become a leader, or you can hold any title and yet not lead people,
Mm.
right? So
Oh yeah.
that's the kind of a uh, transformation we are looking for. But transformation, by definition, is just converting one energy into another, one person into another, one scenario into another. But is that the real growth?
Mm.
Is it something which is helping me to cross that ceiling? Right? I'm gonna, if that is helping me, then transformation is the answer. But if that is not answering my question and letting me grow more, if I am really I really want to grow, right? Then what happened? What is the answer? What are the tools available to me? What leadership looks like at that level? What, and as you know, I talk about human centric leadership.
Right.
How it serves my being so I can serve others. And that's the power of transcendental leadership. But unfortunately, in past, transcendentalism was always attached with the spirituality.
Mm.
But spirituality is, you know, it's a completely different discourse to debate about. You know, spirituality, you can be spiritual at workplace in a different sense than you can become a spiritual in your personal life,
Right.
right? So the how to create that, how to strike that balance between that, you are ready to grow, you have those tools which can uplift your performance, at the same time taking you to the next level. What are the tools available to ascend you to that level where you truly feel that I have a growth. I have grown up in my own leadership uh, roles, and that's what I address to through my 15 years of research and uh, coming up with a new framework and the new tools for leadership to experiment and see that what differences it gives them. Do these outcomes are tangible enough in terms of data? Right? Because these days we cannot justify the subjective theories anymore because everything is data driven. Am I giving you a tool which gives helps you to understand and gives you some kind of a number or a scale which shows you a growth? So that's the transcendentalism I'm talking about within the discourse of leadership.
You know, it's you mentioned something early on, and it's so critical. You said there's a choice to be made, right?
Yes.
You have to choose to lead. Now, there's some people undoubtedly that are in positions they've chosen not to lead uh, for whatever reason. They are holding those positions, but I do agree that the choice must be made if you're gonna, lead right to do it. And once you do that, that kind of propels you to these points, these areas in your growth, whether you hit a ceiling or not, as you're going up and up and up. Or it may be out, right? Because influence is not just going up, influence is out, right? It's just like a pebble in the water. You hit that pebble in the water, it just, this wave just emanates out from that point being a leader. And once that choice is made and you start, growing and you hit the ceiling, there's a secondary choice, right? Where we were just talking about how you're gonna uh, go from here to there. Now,
Mhm.
transcendency. It was when I saw that, and we were talking about that beforehand. There was a one time this leader, chief operating officer, right? He's at the time I was serving as an executive advisor to the CEO, and when he went to present me before the company, he said some words about me, my background, all this, and then he finished his comment with, "Enrique is the only person here that transcends the organizational chart." And I was like, "Wow, that's a pretty special guy." What else he's talking about me, whoever he's talking about, that's pretty special because That means that this individual can go up, down, side to side, all the way around this thing. And he has the authority to move in that manner.
Mhm.
When we get to this ceiling, we have to give ourselves the authority
Mhm.
to move past it, or else we'll be subject to it, right? It'll be an immovable object that we'll bump against. Some things will happen. You'll get hurt, or you'll say, or you'll create some fear in you,
Mhm.
and it won't allow you to go past it. But once you authorize yourself, you give yourself permission to
Mhm.
knock it down, to break it up, whatever it is that you want to do in order to get to the other side. It's a very empowering moment for
Mhm.
a leader.
Mhm.
How do you view that scenario?
So Enrique, you said it so well that once you give her permission to yourself to grow, and you are not ready to limit yourself within any role set or any title, or even if you attach yourself to your performance. Maybe
Mm,
you are doing great, you are matching with the revenue, you are bringing all the numbers which you are supposed to bring in, but somewhere deep down you still feel there is a scope of growth,
mm.
and you hit that ceiling, and you give yourself permission to break that out and see that. But my question right here, from the leadership, is, do just giving permission to yourself is enough, or how you want to see your growth from that point? You empowered yourself by taking the decision. I understand that, and that's the crucial piece, because you had been courageous and fearless, and it also shows me that you are ready to go to the next level. But do you have the right tools to do that? What are the
Nice.
tools? Right? Because, you know i I know that this road leads to Los Angeles from my home, but which place in Los Angeles I want to go? I am setting my GPS for Universal, right? But if I am just setting my GPS for Los Angeles, they are two different things. So you have to know your goal, where you want to reach. And if you think that wherever you are, that's not your destination, what are the tools available for you in along this journey so that can take you to that destination?
That's powerful because, and anybody listening, and that is joining us tonight, let us know if you've gotten to that ceiling and that point of decision, because I'd be interested in seeing most of the comments for the folks that have gotten to there. But you make a great point, Rashmi, when the decision to go through the ceiling is one thing.
Hmm.
Knowing how to navigate on the other side is another.
Yes.
And then even just having the right tools, do you even know where you're going, right? So this is this improvement process that we have as leaders, that we continue to grow and educate ourselves and morph into these new leaders, right? It's a new level of leadership that we get into, that cannot happen in a void, or cannot happen wishfully thinking that we can make it. You have to have with you the ability, and when you knock that ceiling out, you also have to be able to face what's on the other side,
Yes.
because there has been time where it just me. I've broken through a ceiling. I was happy, and then I got there and I was lost. But then I couldn't go back, right? So then now I'm in a limbo, and those periods in my leadership development were rough, because then now on the other side I had to go and try to develop a way, and time was passing me by. And when you break through these ceilings, and especially in life, our life is very time based. you could actually get onto the other side, not be ready, and whatever opportunity was waiting for you will go away. And now you have to wait an undefined amount of time for the next opportunity. And is it going to be the same? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? You don't know. So I love the fact that you mentioned being able to and ready to
Hmm.
execute once you get onto the other side.
And that's why being an executive coach and working with the highly skilled professionals, I have seen many cases where they are promoted for the leadership positions, but they were not ready.
Hmm.
They were they had everything. They had all the, they ticked all the boxes
Right.
to earn that title. But as a leader, as a person, they were not ready. So do we have something missing here? Why they are not ready?
Hmm.
What is that fear or the lack of confidence they are facing, which they are embarrassed to say,
Right.
right? And even the courageous leaders like you who broke the ceiling and landed up on the other side of the world, and still not able to figure out where to go from there. And then there is a whole talk which comes within that, have am I have taken a right decision? Is this a right decision for me? Is this a path for me? Because we start questioning ourselves then, because everything in this world is outcome driven, performance oriented. As a leader, you are expected to do and perform on a certain level. And when you are figuring out yourself, what is that performance looks like, how I'm going to do that, what is expected, then there is a, as you said, we have a limited time. And that's why I developed this tool which I call T chords. It has a four quadrants with all the T's. So the first quadrant called target, because we are targeting, it's a very need based tool. uh, because all the leaders, they are coming from a different bringing different expertise and coming from a different industries, and each industry has its own specific requirements. So being at that top level where you are ascended to the transcendent leadership, right? You had done a awesome and a, awesome job as a leader, but now how to level up your leadership? And that's a challenge for any leader. That's the challenge for any organization who has done a great job right till now. But what is the future path, which I called a rite of passage? Because then you are figuring out within that rite of passage that what is ahead, what is my path, how my pathway is gonna, I'm gonna pave my own pathway, and how it's gonna look like. And that's the quadrant I was talking about, that four quadrants where we have a target, transformation, tangible, transcendentalism. So that four quadrants serves you your physical well-being, your mental well-being, to keep you laser focused on what you're really working on, and having somebody as your companion, as a coach, or as an advisor, or as a friend who can correct your course and say that, okay, you are on a right path. That's a tremendous difference. That's a big difference anybody can have.
It's the four quadrant model is one that's favored a lot in platforms to train and teach folks because it's easy. You get to four things and then you can move on. Um, the target piece is, I think, one of the things that we fail in the most. We fail to identify point B. We know we want something in that direction, right?
Hmm.
Most people will tell you, I don't know where I'm going to be 5 years from now, but it can't be here. Well,
You are so right.
yeah. So and so those kind of like you're throwing a dart out into the, I don't know where, it doesn't really work because it's not focused. It's just very broad. You know, I want to be an engineer, and I'm like, do you know how many types of engineers there are? Now, if you tell me I want to be a meteorologist, I said, well, okay, there's one type of weatherman, right? There's a weather
Mm-hmm.
woman. There's meteorology. But even in that, there is broadcast meteorology and there is scientific research type of meteorology. There's the
Mm-hmm.
mathematics types of meteorology.
Mm-hmm.
They crunch the data and come up with, there's just so many variables when you start throwing these things where I want to be. And so one of the things we fail time and time again is identifying that B. Where is that next point that I want to be? And if you're wise enough to strategize to Z,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wow, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But you must know where those points are,
Yes.
or else you'll be, you know, you'll be making the same comments 5 years from now.
Yep. You know,
And
it's it's such a dynamics involved here that you are throwing your dart up high without target, with so much of trust and some kind of a blindness on the inside that it will reach to the target. But the fact is, we are addressing the symptom, that whether it will hit the target or not, whereas we don't know the root cause.
hmm,
So technically, if you are throwing a dart in certain direction and it has no target, obviously it's going to land somewhere, because we cannot beat the law of gravity. It's going to
it
land
might
up
land on
somewhere.
you. It might
Yeah,
land
it
back on you.
so it can land anywhere, no question asked. but
Right,
but
right.
at the same time, is that your goal? If that's not your goal, how can I fix and work today on that goal, so my actions are aligned with my goals, right? It can land on my head and burn me out and I have to take a back seat, right? But at the same time, if you are willingness, you have given yourself a permission and you have willingness to give whatever it takes to move ahead. Let's fix the course, bring it to your laser focus where you want to go. And that's why I said the target is, for you it's a different target, for me it's a different target. But do we have any leadership model right now, even in corporate America or non-corporate or non-profit sector, do we have any model which addresses this issue? No. I have studied the seven or the eight models which is very prevalent right now in academics, in business, in corporate, and in all the practicum of leadership we have. It addresses the one narrow aspect of anything. It could be like a servant leadership, you need to serve. Transactional leadership, it's a give and take relationship. Transformational leadership, you need to empower your employees. But what you are gaining out of it, you are like, I think it's a half cooked cookie.
Hmm.
Still tastes good, because lots of people like the flavor of cookie dough as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand it still tastes good and it satisfies some of your human needs. But
Right.
at the same time, is it a foolproof tool? And that's what my like, I have taken a very long route. The simple route is become an executive coach, post lots of things on social media, get popular, become an influencer on your living. But why I have taken this long route, which I was questioned many times in past too, because I genuinely want to help you. If I leave, if I leave you where you are right now, throwing your dart 10 times in 10 years, not able to take you to the destination you always envisioned, and you feel that, "Oh, I don't know how Elon Musk became Elon Musk or a Bill Gates became Bill Gates. I'm still figuring out." So if that's the limitation, that's a different whole different story. But if you really want to grow and you are ready to bring that focus on your actions, align everything together and take a strategic steps towards that, trust me, anybody can reach there.
And
When I
you
take
you
yes.
yeah, and you mentioned transformation. Um,
Hmm.
you know, on your journey, you're gonna find many things that will cause you to morph into something else. All right. Sometimes it's just situational. Maybe a group dynamic is different. You're in a different type of company, different type of field. Some people do and are able to, for instance, IT can
Hmm.
go work for a science-based company. IT can go work for a construction company. So they can hop from, uh, I would say, arenas, one from the
Hmm.
other. But transformation,
Hmm.
it's a totally different process than just growth,
Hmm.
right? Because
Absolutely.
my bones grow, they don't turn into something, right?
Hmm.
Something other than bones. They're stay bones, but they grow. And
Hmm.
some leaders grow, but they never transform.
Hmm. Hmm. That's what, that's the like a shifting. People, we have a, the jargons all around us,
Mhm.
growth mindset. But actually, the growth mindset is nothing but the shift which need to happen to take you on the growth journey. Is that the shift? In the change management we say that it's not the change, it's the transition, which is the most difficult part, right? And that stress out so many, corporate and
Mhm.
leadership and the
Yep.
workforce. At every level it has an impact. So the growth you are talking about is a growth which is invisible, a growth which you have never experienced, a growth which is maybe overwhelming because you have not experienced that yet, because the uncertainty and the unforeseen challenges may overwhelm you. But do you have that courage to face those things and say that, okay, I want to try this new way of leading, new way of leadership? So I'm not only inspiring and empowering my employee, I feel connected with my work, and I am able to define my own course of leadership in a way that it inspires others to go on that same journey. All the innovative, startups and uh, corporate environment will say, "Oh, we have a very casual, and we are just working and focusing on this technology, that technology, new ideas. Everybody can pitch in, do the brainstorming together." But is that serving your leadership being? Because nobody can lead if you don't know how to lead yourself. That's where the target is important and the transformation is important. The transformation is not about having more IQ or having more EQ or having more, now we say, AQ, adaptability quotient, but what is your own EQ 2.0 looks like. You have already done that as a leader. You are intelligent, you have proved you have a best knowledge from your industry. You are capable of leading and inspiring people and bringing sales and revenue for your organization. But what if I have to challenge you as a leader? What is your EQ 2.0 look like? And that's the journey we all need to think about and see that how we can help these leaders to become more powerful and impactful, yet keeping that human centric values alongside.
Yeah, that human piece is it's one of those tangible intangibles, right? It's you don't know whether to, act in a way or speak in a way. You have to just know that you're talking to a human.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Talk to a human. Just don't treat them as a possession. Don't
Yes.
treat them as some sort of thing that you just acquired. They are human, right? So as long as leaders understand that that's what's required for you to understand that you're talking to a human and treat them as dignity, with dignity and respect as a human being, I think that most leaders will make it. It's when we violate those things, right? I mean, uh, but you mentioned tangible.
Mm-hmm.
S- there's a lot of leadership that is intangible. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't. There's not any really uh, hard thing that come back at you and say, okay, that worked. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like view and watch people and see if what you've been talking about is catching on, if you see results based on those things. You got to be very, very keen and very observant as a leader to
Mm-hmm.
even know whether your leadership is actually doing what it was supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us a little bit about this area right here of the four T's, because I'm interested in the that piece.
Yes, of course. So the tangibility is kind of a became a parameter for us to prove everything, right? Because everything is number driven or is
Yeah.
driven by the scale where we can physically measure something. But whereas it comes to a leadership, as you correctly said, that there are so many pieces which is very intertwined and subjective, which you cannot take away as a one single component and say that I have improved on this quotient,
Right.
right? It's very difficult. So how to make it more tangible is only way through where you were and how much intuitive intelligence you have gained through this process and reach to a point where you can look back and say, wow, that's a growth, right? And that intuitive intelligence could be, you know you can measure the leadership effectiveness from all the available tools like a 360-degree feedback,
Right.
disk, Clifton strength, or Gallup measures, or even the uh, Deloitte kind of a thing. But I think the most important tangible part of any leadership measurement is the the gained intuitive intelligence, connecting yourself with you in a way
Mm.
that you know that the being which lives within you had a growth. It
Yeah.
came to a
That's
point
wonderful.
that,
That's wonderful.
yeah, so it's a very intangible, but for growth we do lots of things, right? Pre-screening, pre-survey, post-surveys, 360-degree after 6 months, after 8 months, or every year we have a performance review where we have certain indicators and metrics to match with, but still we are at the same place.
Well, there's a lot of leaders that fail to go inward. They and look, the systems are set up
Hmm.
that you could literally not have what it takes to be in a position and be there. And so what does that do? It provides a false tangible evidence
Hmm.
because now I'm here. So why do I need to do that? It's a very dangerous and tricky way that the system is set up, where sometimes because I have a gap in a position, I'll just choose the next best thing, which may not be the next best thing to take me from that point on. And so
Hmm.
I put this person in that position and then just hope for the best.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of companies out there working on hoping for the best type of scenarios. And what ends up happening is a lot of people get hurt in the meantime, right?
Mhm.
Because that leader or that person in the position was not ready for that. And so instead of going inward and saying, wow, I was blessed and honored to be put in this position. Lord knows I don't really belong here. So, what do I need to do myself to make sure that I'm not only suitable for this position, but that I'm suitable to take this team to the other end, to whatever goal it is that we have set for
Mhm.
ourselves? A lot of leaders don't do that. And it's because the system is set up to support you not to do that.
Yes, absolutely. You are spot on that. The system is set up in a way that we are serving the system is not serving us, whereas the intent of developing the system was to make our life easy. But now we ended up defending the system because we are not ready to move on. We are not ready to move on. And that's why the other metrics which I have used in my leadership development is A with the exponents of 7. How that A, what does that mean? So it's the transformation is
Mm,
not an overnight subjective process. We
right.
have to have some kind of a framework around it so we can translate into a tangible outcome. And that A to the power of 7, with A with this exponent 7, is the 7-step process, which I call, autonomy, where you like autonomy of self-determined that you want to be a leader, right? That the second step, which I call acceptance, are you accepting and allowing yourself to be that leader? The third step, which I talk about, is the appraise. Are you gonna accept and appraise whatever it's gonna bring alongside in this journey? The fourth stage, I called it approbation. The fifth stage is audacity, and the sixth stage become amplification. Then if you go through this 5 process, you amplify your own ability. And the seventh, on the very bottom, lies the indicator of achievement. And once you go through this 7 process, you have something tangible in all aspect of leadership to showcase that you have been through a growth journey of a growth. And then you come to a point on the fourth quadrant as a transcendent leader. And that transcendentalism is what is, it's not only driven by the self-determination theory of intrinsic or extrinsic motivation, but it's driven by how transcendental motivation works within you to lead people, to serve them. And it's the key is, unless you feel served, you will not be able to serve people in a way which is 100% impactful. I know there is nothing perfect in this world, but whatever that 100% looks like for you, right? So that is called the your inner calling. You find out your purpose, you find out your why, you know what is your inner calling. But is that inner calling is serving your being and serving the other human being on the same level? And that's the transcendentalism. You ascended to the next level, where you are not only talking about talent development or managing, how to manage your managers and subject matter experts who are very technical in their mindset, but how to connect with your customer, how to connect with your sales figure, how intuitive intelligence you have gained along this journey is able to make those answers very easy for you, and then you are ascended.
I love this transcendent part, and I thank you for sharing all four quadrants with us. As folks that are just joining us right now, we've been talking about leadership and transcendency or transcendence, and we've gotten to the fourth T of her motto, of Rashmi's motto. And Rashmi, I liken this to a caterpillar, right? Now, there's a lot of caterpillars that don't need to turn into butterflies. That's how beautiful they are. And if you take a magnifying glass to some of these caterpillars, their beauty is untold because you have to
Mm-hmm.
get real close, but you start seeing colors that you've never seen before, and you're just like amazed at these caterpillars in that stage, in that state. Yet there are some caterpillars that will latch onto a tree branch, twig, or whatever, and start to go through this transformation. Now, if you ask me, the process from the moment that they attach themselves to the tree or whatever substance it is, it's not a pretty one. it's it's not a pretty one. It becomes a brownish cocoon,
Mm-hmm.
very scaly, very rough looking. It's nothing pretty about it at all. But after a little while, as this process is going on, we're oblivious to the process, right? Because we just can't seep
Yes.
into it. We will stunt the process if we try to invade that cocoon. And so it has to go on and on until the breaking. This cocoon becomes like a little crispy, crusty thing that they just break through.
Mm-hmm.
And then what comes out is beyond words. If I thought there was some pretty caterpillars, the butterfly is just one of these things that you're just like, wow, that was that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about leadership and how you go through this transcendent process, sometimes it's not pretty. Yeah, there's a lot of bumps and bruises. Sometimes we get it wrong, just like anybody else. Sometimes we'll decide something and it'll be glorious, and there's some highs and lows. It's almost like a roller coaster, just a simple leadership life. But there are some times where that leader that was like the caterpillar, and you see all this roughness go on, that they just make this. Uh, they get to this epiphany. They get to this place where their mind, their heart, their soul, their whole being is just so immersed in their impact as a leader that they go and they come out this glorious butterfly. And you're like, wow. There's some young leaders that I reared when I was in the military growing up, and I was their leader, and I look at them now and I'm like, wow. This week, there's a senior chief in the Navy is retiring.
Mm-hmm.
I brought him through the process of becoming a chief,
Wow.
and and I'm looking at this guy. So he's retiring now, right? So it's been a while, but I'm like, wow, that guy was so rough when he was growing up, and look at him now. A full on leader doing some great things. And so that butterfly effect, that transcendency, that transformation thing that goes on, um, could be just straight beautiful if you let it, right? If you let it.
Yep.
Um,
As you said, the caterpillar itself is pretty, beautiful. No, and if you choose to be that leader, to be at that caterpillar state, and you are still beautiful, you
mhm.
are still impactful, you are still insightful, you are still intelligent. But do you have courage to go through that transcendental path to go to the next level? You can be serve as a CEO and living on some mountain and having a fancy house and fancy money, but are you ready to get up at 5 o'clock and work on yourself?
Mm. Mm.
Right? That's a real life question, right?
Right.
Why should I get up at 5 o'clock when I have everything available to me? Why I need to work on myself, right? That's the real life question. And that's what it takes to go through that transformational journey to become a transcendental. It's not a, you know, I'm not saying it's a the simple way we say that, walking out of your comfort zone, but you have already walked out of your comfort zone to reach to the level where you are. But is that your limit? Isn't it your limiting beliefs kicking in and telling you that's it? And there is nothing wrong in that. You just want to be there. But my question for those are who still feel that there is more ahead. Do you have those pathway? Do you have a visibility? Do you, at first place, do you know that there is a path ahead too? Having that, that unrestlessness within you and saying that, I don't know what is missing. We are not able to express that feeling, but we still know that something is missing. Do you have that courage, enough courage to find out what is that missing piece, which still bothers you now and then? And if that bug is already there in your mind, that means you are ready for the next step. And once
And
you said that you have broken the ceiling, but you didn't know where to go from there. And that's why I feel that it's a responsibility of people like you and me to bring that tool in the for the world, so they can practice and see that whether it's a right path for them or not. Right? We are parents, and I'm a very proud mom of two. I always say that as a parent we want the best for them, but at the same time we try to teach them so many things along the journey, but they finally choose their own path. But it doesn't mean that whatever I taught them or I helped them throughout this journey is going to become obsolete. No, they are bringing that experience there and that knowledge to do the job which they are going to do in future to the best. That the value centered approach works in the leadership. That also works in parenting, right? No matter what I do, if I'm not happy within, it's not resonates with my own calling or why or my purpose, my leadership is not going to be impactful, because somehow deep down I still am very unsatisfied person. So how to bring that everything together and create a balanced approach, which is tangible, which is measurable, which is which goes through the journey of transformation and ascend you to the next level. And that's my purpose.
well, folks, we've been talking about leadership and transcendence, that transcendence piece of life. There, as a leader, you get to a ceiling, you're there, you're ready for the next big thing to come. Uh, but that's not just good enough. We mentioned that earlier on. We mentioned Rashmi actually described her 4T model, which I'll be asking about at the end. Uh, for those of you that have been watching Aloha Friday Live, we have a little prize courtesy of Honolulu Cookie Company. And it's a question I'm going to be posing at the end of this session. And the first one to get it right is the one that gets it. And I do this every Friday. But Rashmi, we get through this transformation, transcendent period in our life. and it almost seems to start all over again, right? We get to a ceiling, and then that just becomes the ceiling becomes the floor, and because this thing doesn't stop. It's not meant for it to stop. And there's a reason why a ceiling becomes a floor. So for leaders out there that have transcended, I hope you haven't gotten comfortable where you just broke through, because, like I'm saying, it becomes your floor. And so you have more journey to go. The last, the journey ends when you take your last breath, right? That's how it goes for us humans. So I hope that if you were joining us tonight, that you took some notes, because the information was just spot on and wonderful. I'm going to be telling you that if you can name the four T's, now you had to pay attention. If you can name the four T's in the comment section, you get the prize. So we'll see, and we'll show the winner next Friday. But before we start getting to the close of this, Rashmi,
Mhm.
is there anything that you would like to uh, tell the listener concerning transcendency that they should be keying into now? Because it could be, they could be far off. They could be a ways off from. They could be at the target area, and so that they could take tonight and start to think about, hey, maybe I need to look into this.
I think, past 2 years, it was a learning journey for the world.
Hmm.
It was a learning journey for the leadership. And if you look at the data from Gallup and DDIs, it shows that leadership effectiveness has increased during the pandemic. Why? We were all comfortable before pandemic, not doing good. Why we did better during pandemic? Because we were challenged. We experienced something which we have never experienced before, right? So most of the time we limit ourselves because we don't know that how that journey will be. We think that we are comfortable right now, and I'm successful. World was successful before 2020 pandemic too. There was no crisis of leadership. There was no economy was doing great. We were doing new innovations. The startup data was showing us that we are we are doing some tremendous amount of innovative discoveries, right? But why we did better during the pandemic as a leader? Because we were challenged. We were pushed out of our comfort zone. Whether you had not given a warning or a choice that you want to move on or no, there was, you have to, you
Hmm.
have to, that was the condition. And if are you ready to give that condition to yourself? I will be talking this about more in my book, which is I'm still working on, and I'm feeling I have a very uh, tight deadlines to match. Hopefully, will by December 2021 it will be on shelves. But that is something which I wanted to have conversation with myself. Am I ready? Why the leadership is doing better in pandemic, and then again, once we have this vaccination and everything, the data started going up, the leadership performance started going down. Why? We are not able to manage the high performance because we feel that it's stressful. We feel that it takes too much out of you. So when I'm talking about the four quadrants, that's the tool you need to having that, you know, neuro fitness within you to become that peak performer and remain there, manage your own performance without any help because you have already transformed and transcended.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's my final message.
yeah. No, thank you for that, folks. Don't get comfortable. the, it's easy to go and try to revert to whatever was working before. There's a lot of people asking for a return to the normal, but I hope we never return to the normal. There was a lot of things going wrong in the normal, and when people get comfortable, that's when things go astray. So I hope that leaders are not taking a backseat. I know it was stressful. I was one that felt the stress, so I understand. But for the sake of the people, if you are in leadership and you've chosen to lead, don't take the easy road. Uh, uh, you know, get help, right? But don't start throttling back because your people depend on you. They're depending on you to light the way and to be ahead. So hopefully you will do that. So, Rashmi, you mentioned a book. I'm sure and I know you've written a couple. So can you share those two with us so that we can look it up and get some?
Of course. So, my earlier two books was mostly on social capital. Like I work in a human capital area,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but how that how social capital and social
Yeah.
networking became so important in our life, and especially when I was doing my doctoral research in back 2008 and 2010. That was the buzzword, social capital. Nobody knew what is that new capital, how to invest in that, or how to leverage that capital,
Right.
right? So then came the word of social networks, networking, right? It was always there, but not in the vision of the common people.
Right.
Networking used to be a very high profile thing back time. Right. But now everybody is talking about networking. Your net worth is your network and
Mm-hmm,
everything, right? So how to increase your net worth? That was the part of my doctoral thesis which I was writing, and I got of two books out of that thesis. One is typically talking about the mm, a UN agenda of on urban poverty, because I
mm-hmm.
researched on the immigrant community in the urban settings, especially the poor mm, below the poverty line population, and how this population developed their own coping mechanism through social capital and social network for a survival, and contributed to the economy. That is the two book, and I can share the links. The third book, which I am very very excited about, is on all about leadership, talking about the model I have developed, and which is pending for approval with IRB, and for research and patent. And I am very very excited about that. And just want to say one thing: if you are ready, seek help. Don't think that that is your limit. There are people out there who are ready to help you. There are people who are going to embrace you without judging you, without stereotyping you, without looking into that who you are physically. They are ready to help you as you are, where you are, and take you along to that journey, which is going to be a transcendental journey, but it should come from within.
Absolutely. I run the podcast called Developing the Leader Within. That's the reason why I titled that like that, not just because I'm a John Maxwell fan and John Maxwell team member, which I am, but it really does start from inside. It really has to start from inside. You can get adorned a king, you can get adorned a queen, but a king and a queen has to have the heart of a king and a queen for them to do what is required. And so a leader, you can be positioned, you can be advanced, you can wear a suit and a nice dress, but if you don't have the heart of a leader, it's just not going to go too far. So thank you, Rashmi, for sharing that with us. Please share the links for the books in the comments so that we could propagate that. And we are as excited for your new book on leadership. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that. And hopefully, it could be one of the things that we entertain to give away. So, for everybody listening, leadership and transcendency, it's time to transform. It's time to break down some ceilings in your life, but you can't do it without a plan. You can't do it without a vision as to what you're going to do the next time you get onto the other side, which, oh, by the way, becomes your floor. Rashmi, thank you so much for being with me
Thank
tonight.
you.
I appreciate your time, your knowledge, and all the information that you shared. For all of you out there, we'll see each other again on next Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern on Aloha Friday Live. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.